Hey guys, welcome back. It is Patrick Robertson here at Momentous Building, and today we are going to talk about spray foam insulation, the cost benefits, and why it's so important and why we always recommend it. As always, please give us a like, a share, maybe a subscribe if you're interested. We're really trying to grow this message. We're going to be putting out content every single week to make sure we can help educate the construction industry, homeowners, and even contractors to provide a better value to the clients. So let's dive right in. Spray foam insulation. It's a great product. It's been around for many years. There's definitely some advances in how it's manufactured to have more efficiency, less waste, and be better for the environment. But basically, before we dive into why we think spray foam insulation is so important, we got to dive into what the two different types really briefly. The two different types are open cell and closed cell. Let's start with open cell. Open cell, like it sounds like, is less dense. It's cheaper. It's not an air or vapor barrier. That means that air can pass through it and vapor can pass through it, which is different than water. Vapor is the humidity in the air, whereas water would be like a drop if you pour a water bottle, and you pour some water onto something. The R value, which is the thermal insulation value, is 3.8 per inch, and comparably to closed cell, it's much less. So closed cell insulation, it is much denser, as it sounds. The R value is 7 per inch, so open cell was 3.8, closed cell is 7, so it's almost double the insulation value per inch, giving you more comfort and more thermal protection per inch. It's a little bit more money, but it is also a air barrier and vapor barrier in the process, which allows us to do some great things both on new construction and retrofitting to provide a better space for the clients. So, let's do some comparison on why we like to use spray foam in most instances with retrofitting and then also in new construction. Open cell, and I just want to put this briefly out there, is that open cell doesn't sound like a good product. However, there are certain instances where a vapor barrier is not wanted or an air barrier is not wanted at a specific location to make sure that moisture buildup and these different things don't happen in the space, creating mold, decay, and rot. So open cell definitely has a space and an application in some areas, but a lot of the times the closed cell is what you're going to want to have. That being said, let's compare spray foam with bat and mineral and some of these other options. Going forward, when we say spray foam, we're going to say closed cell because that's really what we use a lot of on our projects, and open cell is really either a cost saver or a special situation product for us, that is. So let's start with mineral wool and the R values associated with it. Mineral wool on average is around 4 per inch. Then there's bat insulation, which is 3.7 per inch. These are all R values. And then as a reminder, closed cell insulation is 7 per inch. So right there we see a massive difference in the R value. And the great thing about spray foam, the closed cell, is that ceilings now require, in New York, Climate Zone 5, where we're at, the code requires a R49 ceiling insulation on the roofs. So what that means is basically with the closed cell insulation, we can achieve that R49 in a 2x12 cavity, whereas if we used bat or mineral, we would have to do we have to either frame it out lower and sister in different rafters, or there would have to be a double layer of insulation or using roof insulation to achieve that R49. So this allows us to get it in one shot, which is nice, and definitely has some benefits when completing a project or retrofitting, like we said, where maybe the joists are 2x10s and there's these different categories. And then there's, let's talk about the biggest benefit that I think that a lot of people forget about. So we talked about the thermal value. It's definitely much higher than any of the alternative options. But the other great part of comfort in your home is the air and vapor barrier that spray foam provides. And most homes, especially older homes, they don't have an air or vapor barrier on them. That means that it's almost like a breeze coming from the outside, just kind of blows into your home, letting in that cold vapor or letting that vapor out, getting your home uncomfortably dry in these different conditions. So the closed-cell spray foam actually acts as an air barrier and stops the air from traveling into your home, regardless of the thermal protection amount, regardless of that R value. It's going to stop that air from traveling in. And here's the fun fact: most people think that like that Tyvek house wrap stuff is an air barrier, and although it may say it's an air barrier, every single time we've seen it installed, there is holes, there's rips in it, and it is very, very hard to seal it and nail it to actually be a sufficient air barrier on your home. And that's where the problem lies. They're ripped up and these different things, so the air's still passing through that. And on even older homes, they only have tar paper, and that is not an air barrier as well. So it's really, really powerful to really stop that air going into it. We talked about the air coming into your home. Then there's also the vapor, right? And the vapor sometimes gets trapped in your cavities of your actual wall, depending on how the home structure is built and some different layering. And what that can do is create rot, mold, and these different things in between the walls or up on the siding, and enhance the process, increase the process of decay and rot, causing many, many issues, decreasing the lifespan of your home, and these different things. And if closed cell is used in the right applications and at the right time, we can actually get rid of that vapor moisture problem and enhance the life of the house and increase the lifespan, which is awesome. The last thing I want to talk about is the non-microbial properties of spray foam. What does that mean? That means that mold won't grow on closed cell spray foam. So if your roof does have a micro leak in it, if your siding does have a micro leak in it, it might get onto your bad insulation or your mineral insulation, these different types of insulations, and then mold starts to grow on it, and it invites it in. And because of these different things, of the vapor barrier, and vapor is being added into the air always again and again and again, and we get this problem with mold growth. So what this closed cell does, it actually doesn't allow that mold to grow on that surface whatsoever. So there's decreasing the likelihood of mold growth if an issue does arise or an existing issue is there that is very microscopic and we can't see. So it is also a hedge of protection in the future, right? So let's bring this all back, because we talked about a lot of different things. And in conclusion, there's this whole thing of like, oh, spray foam is 20% more, say. I don't know. It's really depending on your project, the ease of installation, these different things, right? And they think like, oh, I can't afford it because what's the couple extra R values going to do? It's not that big of a deal, blah, 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 blah. But now you have this difference of your investment, right? And what the closed cell spray foam insulation does that no one really talks about, which is just crazy, is this air and vapor barrier that stops that air traveling in. So you get a 2-for-1 really on your money that you wouldn't be able to get when just talking about a traditional insulation. So I really hate the connotation that, hey, listen, it's just comparing apples to apples, because you're really not. You're comparing apples to oranges. And if you try to do a regular bad insulation and then also put in the factor for the materials and labor to do an air and vapor barrier as well, you're going to be at the same price. I guarantee it. So this closed cell spray foam insulation really just does a 2-for-1 on most houses that really can't compare to a bad insulation. Now, I want to put the caveat out there is that if you do the right methods to insulate your home and provide the right air and vapor barriers and everything, I personally believe doing external insulation with a combination of maybe mineral wool or some other products inside the home and having the right air and vapor barrier and the right air travel properties you don't need spray foam. However, that is very rarely the case of what we've seen, and ripping off all the siding on your home, retrimming out all the windows, isn't a great cost-effective method to have an air barrier, vapor barrier, and a superior insulation on your home. Guys, I know that was a lot. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. We'd love to help out. We'll hop on a call to, answer any questions maybe about your project. But in the meantime, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we will catch you on the next one.